Welcome to the Mayor and City Council meeting Monday, February 12th, 2024. If you'd please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up, we have roll call. Please show that we are missing Councilmember Foster today. I was made aware that she will not be joining us today. Next up, we have the approval of the minutes of January 3rd, 2024, and approval of the January 8th, 2024 regular meetings and the January 8th, 2024 closed session. Looking for a motion on that.
Move to approve the minutes.
Looking for a second.
I will second.
Questions, comments, concerns from council? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Carries. Next up, we have council member statements regarding conflicts of interest on agenda items. Do we have any conflicts of interest today? Hearing none, I'm proceeding forward. Resolution, ordinances, and agreements. Introduction, Ordinance 04-2024 fiscal year 2023-2024 Budget Amendment 3. I'm looking for a motion on that.
The introduction, I have a question. As my computer starts to cooperate. Jim, going back to the Lexapol stuff, and I understand that 27 is just the initial cost, and then there's a yearly
Correct.
cost that goes along. Isn't that a function that our legal person could do in addition to their? I mean, because I can't imagine that there's going to be a constant flow of updates. Like, it seems silly to be paying that much per year if there's nothing happening.
Well, I think it's a little bit of insurance as well that we will stay current, you know, and not. We've obviously fallen behind with our policies, you know, while we've had city attorneys on board.
And we previously relegated or delegated to them, right? To the city attorneys, we previously delegated the policies to them.
I mean, that's a little bit of a long story, but
Yeah.
But yes.
I was just under the impression that they just weren't given the right information.
And so there was direction at a point that the city attorney was going to review the policies and procedures for the police department. When that effort started, it was realized that there wasn't enough organization to it, and it was a bigger undertaking than was envisioned. And the flip back then was that the department needed to get it in better order before the attorneys could start to review it, because we didn't want to spend attorney hourly rates to organize something thinking that the police department could at least do that part of it. And of course that didn't, right? Then it just kind of sat by the wayside.
So
But I
we're
guess the fact
essentially
is
just paying these people to do what the police department should have done before?
Well,
I mean,
I think that
are they having to do all that catch up as well?
there are changes that come out of the legislative sessions, and certainly we look to MML to try to, you know, keep us current on that. But obviously, we didn't stay current previously. So, you know, this service will help us stay current and compliant with any state mandates that do come out.
Okay, and then is it a contract in which they can't increase the annual
It's a
amount?
subscription, so it can change
At
down
any
the
point in
road. It
time.
could be more expensive down the road.
Okay, and will those annual things be added to the budget in such a way that we can see those increases if they happen? I'm just curious. Or is it just
If
going to be a
they're-
matter of it'll
well-
have to be included in their budget as part of their?
Right. If they're incremental, we probably wouldn't highlight them, just because there is an anticipation that most services and subscriptions will increase year after year, just like our energy prices and so on.
Right.
So if it's, just an incremental increase, we probably wouldn't highlight that
But
on
if it's
our
like
budget
excessive,
worksheet. But
then
if it was
we'll-
something, right, if it took a big leap, we would probably reevaluate, is this still worth the price tag now that it's, 30% more or whatever it might be. So that would be something that for those who have been around for a few years, when we do our budget workshop, the treasurer usually kind of calls out anything that's an abnormal increase, something that's not just an incremental inflationary sort of thing.
Right.
So that would be, if there was a big leap for the service, that would be something we would call out as to this is why this number has gone up so much.
I imagine 50% would be a substantial increase in the service, correct?
Oh, certainly.
Okay.
Usually and again, it's kind of dollar amount driven as well. So if it's, a $5,000 item and it goes up, $200, we're probably not going to highlight that for you.
Yeah.
But we can always, if there are questions, we can always, provide the broken out version of something for a particular line item if need be.
Okay.
So in addition to providing us with the notices and whatever that these things have come down the pike from the General Assembly or from the federal government or wherever, does it provide any compliance guidance? Is there anything that comes with that as part of the service? Or is it just simply letting us know we have compliance issues?
Well, they will actually draft the policy updates for us.
Oh, okay.
So that's the I guess predominant part of the service is, they will
And then they'll
they
defend
will
us
they
if
will
something.
monitor any changes that a department has to comply with, and they will also provide draft language for updating the policy and procedure.
And they do also do bulletin highlights of new policy and stuff like that to help kind of go over what the policy is and from my understanding of Lexipol.
I mean, it's more, I would say it's just more of a service than just letting us know that things are changing.
Correct. Right. And it's right, $8,000 a year would be the annual recurring subscription cost. At this point, it may go up in future years.
Looking for a motion on the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget amendment.
So I make a motion to approve.
Looking for a second.
Should it just be introduced?
Correct.
It should be just a motion.
Yeah.
We're just
It's an
introducing this.
introduction of
Oh,
ordinance,
yeah.
it's not-
Whew.
Yeah,
No,
Make a
that's my
motion to
bad.
introduce.
there you go. Thank you.
So looking for a motion to introduce.
I'll second the motion for introduction.
Any further discussion from council? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Carries. Adoption Resolution 2024-02, water allocation for February. Looking for a motion on that.
Make a motion to approve the water allocation.
Looking for a second.
I'll second the motion to approve the water allocation.
Comments, questions, concerns from council? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Carries. City manager report.
Okay. I have a few updates since Monday evening. Just first want to call to your attention in the economic development report. If you log back into Power DMS, there have been a couple updates regarding the Main Street. Some of the subcommittee activities have been added to on that report. So take a look at that if you can. Response to the question that was asked Wednesday about the mowing cost in January, our current contract, we just spread the annual cost over all 12 months. So it's a more level cost through the year rather than paying higher in the summer, lower in the winter. So that's why we have an invoice for January. Let's see. Before we wrap up for tonight, I do just want to get consensus that budget workshop schedule for February 28th will work for everybody. Let's see.
That should be fine.
Should be fine.
I'm seeing nodding heads, so I'll go with that.
You good?
Alrighty. Let's see. Public Works met today with MT Laney, who was the paving subcontractor for Roberts Mill Road and Broad Street. During the walkthrough, we identified a couple areas where the pavement didn't seem to be, the top coat didn't seem to be adhering properly. And when they met with the contractor in the field today, they identified some additional areas. And the suspicion is that because we were getting to colder weather, that they were sort of pushing the limits on the blacktop adhesion to the base coat. So they are going to be revisiting that in the springtime. So there may be more paving work yet to be done on Roberts Mill Road. And that's obviously contrary to what I said Wednesday. So we thought we just had a couple areas that were going to be needed, but it looks like it might be much more extensive than that because we don't want to have like a patchwork appearance for a brand new.
New road with
brand new-
patches all in
Brand new
it.
road, so, so there will be more to come on Roberts Mill Road and Broad Street
Are
in
they-
the spring.
I haven't been down to look at it. Is it pulling or, tearing, or is it raveling? Or a combination of
I think the second,
where it's actually, the stones are coming,
Yes.
frying? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, all right.
So Jim, is this kind of like our developments when we have a year to call out any other issues, or is there a shorter
So
amount of time?
things are still under warranty, but, there were a couple areas that were identified during the walkthrough, and when the paving contract, well, representatives from that subcontractor came back out and looked at it and met with DPW, they identified some areas throughout the project, so it's looking like it may need to be milled and overlaid when the weather warms up.
Okay.
Let's see. I had advised council a couple weeks ago that the Main Street Board was interested in modifying that chapter of the code. They would like their subcommittees, their work groups, meetings not to have to be public. So that's something that I would like to put on the March agenda for some discussion. So when we began, I'll say, Main Street version 2, and made it a, formally city-appointed committee for the Board of Directors, we also put in that code, in that chapter, that all of their meetings, as well as their subcommittee meetings, have to be public. And some of those subcommittees are more like work groups where they're going to be making things or preparing things. For example, as was noted in the Economic Development Report, the board decided that Main Street was going to enter the Carroll County Arts Council's peep show with the, Easter little marshmallow peeps that they do the sculptures and stuff every year. So that's going to be one of the committees is going to be getting together, working on a marshmallow peep Main Street. And that will have to be open to the public. So that's the sort of thing that some of the work groups are doing. And perhaps those meetings don't need to be held in a public venue or a public forum. So something to think about. We'll have it on the agenda for next month. But I didn't want to lose sight of that. I know I had mentioned it a week or two ago, but just please keep that in mind for March. Okay, and I think that's all the updates I have for the evening, but if there are any questions, I'll do my best to field them.
And that's all for city manager and department reports, right? Sounds good. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? Proceeding down to new business, monthly financial report. Looking for a motion on that.
I'll move to approve the financial report. I did get a comment before we go on this and go past it. I got a comment from a citizen who wanted to know if they wanted to see the financial reports, where could they see them and how could they see them?
So we've had that comment before, and so we do have the audit report over there, but I know me and Jim have talked about making parts of the financial report more available to the public. The biggest
Or at least a
thing.
summary, not
Yeah,
not
we're-
necessarily all the detail, but a summary report.
And that's what we've talked about, is more of a summary, because the idea is if we provided the full thing, you're talking about what, how,
No, I'm just trying to pay attention, so I just had to tell Kenyatta to wait for just 1 minute.
all
She had a
good.
I'm
question.
sorry.
But it is a lot of papers, as far as I'm aware. I can't recall how many pages it is on each one, to then print however many copies we need for each
Yeah,
meeting.
it's a lot.
We will see if we can come up with something of a summary report, rather than the full-blown, line-by-line report.
Okay.
Maybe at a departmental level, something like that. So, and of course, the information is publicly available, but it's not something that we push out like we do with the ordinances and resolutions, where you can click on the agenda and see those. They're
Yeah, that
pretty
was
much
one of the
just kind
comments
of
is,
a-
what you can this be something that's available on the website? Understanding that it's not something that we want to, lose a lot of trees over, but, can it be accessible publicly through the website?
It can, though, because, I mean, it is public information.
Right.
So, and Jim, if you can, kind of coordinate getting that together.
I'll work with Barry and see what we can come up with.
Looking for a motion related to the monthly financial report.
That's right. So I'll continue back with my motion to approve the monthly financial report. Sorry.
Looking for a second.
I will second.
Jim?
Any further discussion by council regarding it?
No?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Carries. Accounts payables, looking for a motion.
Motion to approve accounts payables.
Make a motion to approve the accounts payable.
Or you could second.
You need a
Make him a
second on it.
second.
Do you want to second it? Need a second regarding it.
I will second.
Okay. So, Clara, did you get that?
I got that,
Okay.
yes.
Any further discussion by council? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Carries. Morton Building, Inc., Memorial Park proposal. Looking for a motion regarding that.
Motion to approve the proposal,
This is for the design proposal only.
just the design.
I'll second the motion to approve the design proposal.
Any further discussion by council? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Carries. Funding discussion for proposed public works facility. Jim, were you looking for something in particular for this?
Just consensus, I guess, to investigate options to borrow.
Well, I think it would be prudent to investigate options, but, obviously we don't want to move.
Right, we're not going to sign
We're not signing on
a
any
promise
dotted
or anything
lines.
on anything at this point.
But yeah, I think it would be prudent to explore the options.
Do you want a motion for that, Jim, or
I
just
think
consensus?
consensus is good. Just
Anybody
It's
else?
very difficult for me to support a facility, no matter how grand for the cost that we talked about at the workshop. I would have to know a whole lot more about it than I do right now. And why it has to be as elaborate as it is. The drawings were helpful, though. It gave me a better understanding of what we're talking about, and I can see by the drawings that certainly it would be something in that neighborhood, but my main question is, do we really need that? And that's what I'm not convinced of yet.
Well, I think that in just talking to them over time, because he's been working on this for a long time, that 7 million really is like start to finish. Like that is the whole amount. They do need it. Their facilities they have now are awful, very unhealthy. And this is planned out, like this is long-term. This is a 40-year facility that, so they shouldn't need more
Well, I guess that's the
at
question
that point.
and I apologize, I have not had an opportunity to look at the drawings this week. But can it be modularized in such a way that we could build this section and this section later and this section later?
yes, and Public Works is having conversations with the Morton Buildings representatives about possibly scaling it back. Obviously, to do it in stages is going to be more expensive in the long run, but the buildings are designed in such a way that sections can be added. They can take an end wall down and add sections and reuse that end wall, to expand the building in the future if we were to opt to go that route. The challenge with some of that is when you're doing a site development plan, you want to try to envision the ultimate impervious surface and build out of the site and just do your stormwater management once. So, if we size a building in a parking lot, it's for the bare minimum, and then go to add the, say the training room facility down the road and increase the parking lot, now we've got to reevaluate stormwater management, and that's an additional cost then. So, even if it's, even if the building might be built in stages where we start with maybe, 80% of what we really think we need, we want to design the site to accommodate the full eventual footprint of the parking area and the building.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah.
But it is, the building is engineered to be able to be added to in the future.
Would it be possible to get like a game plan of where you plan to go besides just the borrowing? I know we talked about trying to secure grants and everything like that. Just kind of a encompassing idea of where we're going to get the money for something like this, even if we did borrow.
Right. Yes, we haven't pinpointed a specific grant that we are ready to apply for at this point. Councilwoman Foster has sent us a number of potential opportunities, and we've looked into most of those, but we haven't been far enough along to apply at this point in time. So hopefully, over the course of the next 6 months, we'll start making full applications and see what sticks.
Are there like revolving loan funds available through the state?
So I spoke with a representative of DHCD for the local government infrastructure financing program. And this individual, Charles Day, reaches out to the town every couple of years just to see if we have any, have given consideration to borrowing. So I had a conversation with him last week, just to get a basic idea, where the rates stand right now, that yes, indeed, the project would qualify for that program. So on the loan side, we know of a couple solid options. On the grant side, we've had talks about the governor's discretionary program and things like that. But we would need to, I think, make the project more aligned with something that's going to hit some of the, environmental benefits, some of those things that are more aligned with the state's priorities. Just a run-of-the-mill public works building isn't gonna, that's not the headline or the press release that's gonna get everybody's attention. But if, we perhaps, and I know we're talking about an expensive project up front, but perhaps if we incorporate geothermal heating along with the solar panels that are planned for the roof, we might be able to get to, a net zero energy building. I don't know if the insulation package that we can get from Morton is, robust enough to meet that, those LEED standards and such, but, things like that might make it more appealing for the grant funding. If there's something that makes it stand out that this is, not only gonna serve public works for the next 40 years, but it's gonna have a net zero impact on, energy use. Things like that are gonna make it more,
But that funding we do receive would also have to offset those kind of changes. I mean, that would be my worry with something like that.
yes. So,
Because if we're just, if we're only getting money that basically is just going to cover those kind of changes, we're not really.
well, but in the long run, it would
Yeah,
be,
for the
it
electric and
would save
everything.
in operating
Yeah.
costs, even if it was a break-even proposition, it's still gonna save the city money in the long run by having, much lower energy bills for heating and cooling.
Fair.
So we have a lot of a lot of work still to do. I mean, as you saw from the schematic plans, you know, it's very rough at this point. But Public Works is working with the vendor to try to, you know, see what they maybe can do without, what might be added in the future, if we can downsize and still, you know, have the ability to store the equipment in there. You know, I will point out that we currently have equipment stored within a fenced yard, but and some of it's undercover, but not in a fully enclosed building. And we do have theft from the yard. We do have vandalism of city vehicles that are not parked indoors. So we really want to be able to get this stuff, you know, undercover and secure every evening if at all possible. So, and we're, you know, we're far from being able to do that right now. So much more to come on that.
Still want the consensus, right?
Yeah, I think that we have a consensus to examine the options. I think we're silly not to. So, yes, I think the consensus is to examine the
Right,
options.
I'm certainly not, don't want to oppose the project. I don't, again, I just need to know a lot more about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And maybe I'm late in the process. Maybe this has been talked about for 4 years and I'm just out of the loop, but it's just
Could we
running
get,
beyond my comprehension, that's all.
could we get a presentation from DPW regarding it?
Sure. Would you like that in March?
Could we look, yeah, could we look for it for March?
That'd be great.
That way they can kind of explain to us everything on there.
But then I'll have a chance to look.
Okay.
And just one final note on that. Public Works is in the same facility that they were in the 1970s. So think about how big the city was in 1970.
Yes.
Okay, that's 20 years before I was here. But I know
And
we've
it's
grown
50 years ago,
exponentially
just to make us all feel old.
in, you know, I know there was nothing north of Roberts Mill Road except for like Carroll Heights and Bankard Terrace when I came to town. And Public Works is in the same facility they were in 20 years before that. So.
Okay, going down to council member reports. Councilmember Tillman.
We had a very interesting planning commission meeting, in that we had a lot of internal discussion about what we think of and what we like to see, and I brought the question to council last week during the workshop about, you know, what do we see what do we see works, and what direction do we want to take? There is some disagreement on the planning commission even about how what form the developments should take going forward. And then, you know, we do have some challenges ahead of us. We do have to increase our allowable water consumption, and the only way to do that is to, you know, increase the recharge areas that we have control over. So how do we get that done? Do we lay that off to the developers and make them do that as part of their package? You know, how do those things happen? So that was one of the real lively discussions that we had. We talked about the various things that are currently on the board of APCO has an expansion, both of their existing building. They're going to be adding offices, and then also. I have heard this around from other people. Hey, I heard of APCO bought those 3 houses. What, are they putting up another building? So no, the answer is they're building a parking lot to accommodate the additional offices that they're building on the other side of the street. So, so those things are out there. I did hear that there'll be some chatter coming back about the proposed hardware store and some other things. So it was a pretty lively meeting, and there's lots out there. We also are in the process of, and we'll be meeting in the next couple of weeks to talk to consultants about updating the comprehensive plan. And I think that that's probably an important step before we go any further forward on any development coming in, that we get our house in order regarding the comprehensive plan. And that, of course, will be a very open process to which we will be inviting as much public participation as we can get.
Sounds good. Councilmember Cheney?
So I talked with a new police chief and Major Mitchell this week. Sounds like the hiring process is going really, really well. Very well, very encouraging. There's 2 officer candidates that are hopefully joining the department in the very near future. There were 444 total dispatched calls for service in January, 13 adult arrests and 1 juvenile arrest, and 129 warning issues, with 88 citations issues, sorry. Lots of training happening. All active officers were trained in first responder traffic incident management. They were also trained in implicit bias and opioid crisis protecting first responders. As far as field training goes, Officer Blaze has completed this and has been released for solo patrol, which is great news. For specialized training on January 3rd, Private First Class Eccles completed the K-9 Operations Training Course, which is super exciting. I'm excited about that prospect. Private First Class Leaks completed license plate reader training from January 8th to 11th. On January 11th, Senior Officer Marshall completed the license plate reader operator course. January 16th, all administrative and sworn personnel were trained on the body-worn cameras that we've received. And on January 6th, Private First Class Eccles and Darby were trained in police K-9 detective familiarization. So super excited about that prospect of gaining a K-9. Thanks for all that you do. We're making very positive strides.
Councilmember McCarron?
Economic development, I had an opportunity to spend some quality time with Mish and kind of got brought up to date on some of the things going on around town. And there's been a lot going on in and around town. One of the questions on everybody's mind that they say is when Bellissimo is going to open. Well, it's getting close. I think I've been told they've resolved their problems with the county and have got the green light to move forward. So we should be seeing that very shortly, I think. We've seen new activity at the bakery. Lois is opening for earlier in the morning for breakfast and gonna capitalize on that some. So that's exciting. More activity at on the corners uptown. I'd say Mark Stevens has been very active in his facility over the last few weeks, and he told me last Wednesday that things are starting to happen. So that's pretty exciting. I'm not sure what's happening at the old restaurant across on number 1 York Street, but there's been a lot of activity over there too. A lot of stuff moving in and out. So hopefully that's a good sign. I tried to pin Mish down on that, and he wasn't too committal. He says I've been told too much. I've been told too often, too much, and nothing ever happened. So I couldn't get much out of him there. Mish has been traveling to various seminars and training sessions, which I'm glad to see he's becoming educated and familiar with some of the ways that other economic development departments are operating in the town. That's good news. We had an opportunity we missed an opportunity back in November to celebrate Tawny Stairs' 65th anniversary, but we're trying to rectify that, and hopefully in this spring we'll be able to honor that group a little bit.
While you're on that, and if I may interrupt for just 1 second, on March the 5th, Wance Chevrolet is celebrating their 50th anniversary in business.
Excellent, very.
So you may want to talk to them. It'd be nice to get them
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna have them up as well
I-
for their contributions to the toy drives and whatnot.
I did
part of it.
Yeah.
I did pass on some information to Mish that he needs to talk to the hardware store people again, because I heard they may be shopping for land in another community, so I don't like to hear that. I haven't heard anything back from him, what he found out, but it would be a real asset to this community if we could see that hardware store come to fruition. But all in all, I was well pleased with the way things are going.
Sounds good, Councilmember.
All right, Bollinger Park should be open soon, weather permitting. It's been a rough ride, but we're coming down the home stretch. But it is still a construction site, so we ask that everyone please wait until the park is officially opened before going out. It's not safe yet, and I know that it makes the workers up there very nervous. We're going to announce on the Facebook page when it's opened and hope to hold a ribbon cutting ceremony. But knowing Maryland weather, it probably won't be until well into spring. We are busy working on our 2024 events and programs. The first event on the calendar is the Easter egg hunt, which is going to be Saturday, March 23rd, starting at 1 p.m. Easter is early this year, so. And then our next advisory board meeting is this Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. That is it.
Jim, for DPW, do we have anything major to report? I mean, we can wait for Councilmember Foster's for next month, correct? Not sure.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything particularly for open session, at least to report.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, before we do the closing statement from Councilman Tillman's mention Wednesday of the items for the Planning Commission that they wanted to get council's input or thoughts on, how do we want to respond to that? Do we want to put that on the March agenda for those items? I think it was, how does council feel about Community Village?
Right.
And do we want to put some discussion
something a little
on
bit
that
more
for?
formalized together and send it over for inclusion in the
As far
agenda?
as what you'd like it to look
It's
like
more of
on
a
the
discussion.
agenda.
I don't think
Yeah.
that we're looking for any action or movement, but I think that
Do we just want to put planning discussion
Yeah.
on March's agenda?
Yeah, that's-
and,
that's just-
and then
that's
we can
and we'll meet
distribute to
between,
council
planning will
members
meet
what
between,
what the specific topics will be then. So
If we can for the public agenda, can we just make sure that we have some of those topics listed? Because again, some people are going to be interested in certain
Yeah.
topics and not others.
we'll endeavor to bring that up. We'll be meeting between now and then in the planning commission, so we'll kind of formalize that, and I'll try to have a list of things for the agenda.
Good. Was that all you had, Jim?
yes, thank you.
Okay. I will be looking for a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 3-305B7 of the General Provisions Article of Maryland Annotated Code to consult with legal counsel to obtain legal advice, and 3-305-1I to discuss employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of an appointee of employee or official over whom it has jurisdiction, or any other personal matter that affects one or more specific individuals, and to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. We will be adjourning into open session after the closed session. I'm looking for a motion to enter into closed session.
I move we adjourn to closed session.
Looking for a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. We are adjourned to closed session. We'll take about a 5 to 10 minute break as we adjourn for that. So how do I start this now? Just to open it up?
Yeah, call it to order.
You need to, Mr. Mayor, you need to put the litany into the record.
So,
State
yeah,
you have been in closed session, the authority for the closure, and the purpose of the closure, who was present during the closure,
okay.
and put that in the record.
So I'll just start off with that then. Welcome back to the public session of the Taneytown meeting for February 12th, 2024. At this time, I'm going to read the record of the closed meeting. On February 12th, 2024, at 8:08 PM at City Hall, there was a motion to hold a closed meeting made by Councilmember Tillman with a second by Councilmember McCarron, carried 4-0. The citation of authority of this purpose in accordance to the Maryland Open Meetings Act, Title 10, Governmental Procedures, Subtitle 5, Meetings Section 3-305B. This meeting was closed in order to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction, or any other personal matter that affects one or more specific individuals, as well as to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. The topics discussed were the mayoral authority to terminate Attorney Gullo, passage of a budget amendment ordinance. Persons present at the closed session were Mayor Miller, all council members except for Councilmember Foster, the city manager, Clerk Cowman, and attorney Kevin Best. Actions taken at the closed session, resolution to reinstate Attorney Gullo, motion to adjourn to open session made by Fuller with a second by Tillman, carried 4-0. So where would we like to go from here? Go over the resolution?
I would think a motion to approve the resolution would be in order.
Would anybody like to read the resolution into the public, so the public know what the resolution says?
I'll read it for you, John.
If you don't mind.
Following is the resolution concerning the city attorney. This is resolution number 2024-003. Whereas the city of Taneytown in section C 304.b authorizes the mayor with the approval of council to appoint all committee and the heads of all departments and agencies of the city government as established by the charter or by ordinance, and said subsection further states that all department and agency heads shall serve at the pleasure of the mayor unless otherwise provided in said charter. And whereas the city council finds that the city attorney is not a department or agency head, and that certain department and agency heads are expressly enumerated in the city charter, but that said charter does not create or reference the office of city attorney, unlike the model municipal charter that was once codified in Article 23B of the annotated code of the state of Maryland. And whereas the city council further finds that the office of city attorney was created by ordinance as codified in section 34-3 of the city code, and is otherwise silent on the removal power for that office, but nonetheless infers, if not expressly states, that the city attorney is to be retained and compensated through an hourly fee schedule, which is defined to accompany an instrument such as a contract that specifies a fixed fee by law to be paid for services rendered by a public officer. And whereas the city council concludes that the city attorney serves the city according to the terms of a contract and can only be removed from office according to the terms of said contract. And whereas the city council further finds that section 46-5 of the city code provides that all contracts for professional services such as accounting, architectural, auditing, engineering, land surveying, planning, legal, and insurance services in excess of $10,000 shall not be subject to the competitive bid process provided in said chapter, but shall be approved on an individual basis by the mayor and council. And whereas the city council further finds that the city attorney, Jack A. Gullo Jr., was appointed when his offer or proposal for legal services dated February 24th, 2004 was approved by the mayor and council on or about March 8th, 2004, as memorialized in an acceptance letter from city manager Gary W. Hardman to Mr. Gullo on or about March 16th, 2004. And whereas the city council further finds that the decision of the mayor on or about November 12th, 2023 to remove the city attorney as memorialized in a letter from the city manager to Mr. Gullo dated November 21st, 2023 was an ultra vires act and exceeded the mayor's power and was a nullity, and that Mr. Gullo shall continue to serve as the city attorney at the pleasure of the mayor and council pursuant to the terms of his contractual relationship. Now therefore be it enacted and resolved by the City Council of the City of Taneytown that, one, the alleged removal of the city attorney last November shall be considered to have been an unauthorized act that is deemed to be null and void. Two, that Mr. Gullo's status and indefinite term of office as city attorney previously retained as an independent contractor shall be considered to have remained effective continuously since he was retained in 2004, and shall further be deemed to continue indefinitely at the pleasure of mayor and council according to the terms of said contract. And three, copies of this resolution shall be posted in a conspicuous place in City Hall and made available for distribution to the public upon request. Introduced and passed by a vote of,
We still have, are we
which
still going to
we have
motion?
not taken yet. So
still-
the rest of this will be filled in upon taking the vote.
We're still waiting for a motion and second.
Motion to approve resolution number 2024-03.
Looking for a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Carries. And then what else, Jim? What else do we need?
Mr. Mayor, could you please state for the record the vote?
The vote is, we have a yes by Councilmember Fuller, yes by Councilmember McCarron, yes by Councilmember Cheney, and
Yes, by
a
acquiescence.
yes by Councilmember Tillman. And then we have absent Councilmember Foster. Is there anything else in that regard? Do we,
If there's no additional business, I think you can seek a motion to adjourn.
okay, before the motion to adjourn, I'd like to make a brief statement regarding the matters. Council believes that I do not have the authority to fire the city attorney. I still believe that authority rests with the mayor's office. I do not currently intend to keep fighting this at the taxpayers' expense, as the council's challenge of the mayor authority has already cost the town and has been a distraction for the couple of months that we've been in this situation. I'll continue working hard to adjust in the climate that we have here at the city and making sure that this city and all of its officers, all of its employees work for the benefit of the residents here. I do not believe what has happened here tonight is in the best interest of the public. There needs to be a focus on serving our residents instead of individuals and power struggles. Council prolonging this struggle over months to ensure the retention of a friend to an indefinite appointment of office that not only has fees that have not been approved in the last 20 years, but that also does not have the signature of the mayor attested by the city clerk per 46-7C. I do not believe that the attorney had a valid contract with the city. In this regard, I've chosen not to sign the resolution passed by council today, but I have been told that it'll be signed by the mayor pro tem. I still believe that this authority to fire the city attorney was in the power of the mayor's office, but again, I will not seek to keep prolonging this out. However, I do ask that everybody out there pays attention to what's going on here. We have another couple of years here, just pay attention, and if you are looking to take part in your local government, just keep an eye out. Thank you.
I would like to say one more thing before we adjourn, then I have a couple of quick points. And it's important for everyone to also understand that the mayor's attempted termination of the city attorney done over a weekend in order to thwart the interest of council has left the city in a precarious position of not having legal representation, that the mayor carried out this action without any sort of Plan B. And actually, his actions are what left us in this predicament at this point in time. It is in the best interest of the public for us to have a city attorney, and at this point, we have just recently gone out with an RFP for a new attorney. We may end up hiring a new attorney, but in the meantime, for legal sufficiency and coverage for the city, we felt it was important to make this move. So this matter is not by any means over, but at least the city can move forward. Thank you.
I do appreciate Council Chairman's remarks, and I would like to make some additional remarks. While the council believes that I just did this spontaneously over a weekend, the city attorney position is something I'd been looking into May of 2023. The moment I came into office, I basically looked over all the officer positions, and the city attorney was a position that I was inquiring in since May of 2023. I have text messages, I have contacts with the city attorney that range back to that regard of that we had been looking into the city attorney as far as finding a new replacement since then. However, I do believe that council found out that we are looking into additional or another city attorney, and in that regard, tried to pass an ordinance to prevent that. And in my opinion, that is also them acknowledging the right of the mayor's office to the termination of the city attorney. And if you look back at the November meeting, you will see that council members have confirmed that they intended to put an ordinance into place to prevent that firing. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.